Hi, Sal. It's nice to see you.
Hey, Monica.
So, today we're going to be talking a little bit about our changes we've gone through and what we've learned or what we learned from Bobby in our research. So, this will end up being our final episode in this series. So, Sal, would you like to begin talking about what you learned through this
Oh,
process?
um, sure. I guess for me it's been interesting. I would say interesting having to focus on something that I personally find hard and
Mm.
that I think for my whole life I have put in the box labeled too hard to deal with. So
Avoid, avoid, avoid.
exactly, avoid, oh, change bad. But it's been really interesting because I think one aspect was definitely, as you said, listening to Bobby for me was interesting because for years I have known logically that there are people who cope with change really well.
Mhm.
And it's kind of, I guess for me, it felt like people who speak another language,
Mm.
that it's just like, oh, what must that be like? So having Bobby sort of explain a little bit about her thought process and how she works through change and how she feels about it was really interesting for me because it was like a window into a different way of being, a different kind of philosophy. So I think that was helpful because it made it seem a little bit less alien. I think that she made it seem like it might be humanly possible for someone to be positive about change, which felt like a big step for me to understand that. And I really appreciated her explanation around her process, how she visualizes things, how she actually physically maps out what the paths might look like, what the changes could mean. And I thought that's a really useful tool that even if things seem a bit overwhelming, actually starting to map things out feels a little bit like you're taking some ownership, that you have some agency. I think that can really,
Definitely. Yeah, I think that helps a lot for sure.
yeah. How about you? What was your kind of big takeaway from the last
Well, I was like
5
a
weeks?
living change, right? Because I had just moved countries. I was trying to get licensed. I had to start a new career. I started a new business. I lost a tooth, gained a tooth.
Gained a tooth. Gained a tooth.
So it was just a lot in a very short period of time.
Yes, I was going to
In the
say, for
big,
those viewers who are not sharp-eyed, we've gained a tooth.
that's right. In the first episode, I had lost the tooth, and in the last episode, I gained the tooth. Yeah, in the beginning, I was quite emotional because I was like, I don't want to move. I don't want this. And then after a while, you're like, okay, well, this is a thing. You have to accept it. So once you accept it, then it's like, okay, well, how much am I going to fight? And where do I need to fight? And where do I
Mm,
need to flow? All right. So I'm going to fight for my license, fight, 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 fight. Okay, that is a thing. Now I have to flow. And that's when the new business started. But I had to really check my ego. I had to work with my identity and I had to grieve. I had to let myself grieve. I just had to let myself feel those feelings and then come up with a plan. Like Bobby says, okay, like now what? What can I control? So I set like daily, weekly, and monthly goals.
mm. Oh,
And I
okay.
just kept heading for it.
Yeah.
And there were things I knew I wasn't going to tolerate around my core values. And I think Bobby and you talked about it as
Mm,
well. Like once those core values get crossed, okay, this isn't an option.
yeah.
So what is the option? And so now that I've planned things out, I'm headed in a direction. I'm not just like flailing. What's
Yeah.
next? I feel a lot better for sure.
Yeah. But I think that
Yeah.
also gives you energy if you feel like you're heading in a direction. You're like,
It's
this is the
motivating.
beginning of something.
Yes.
I'm now moving towards.
Yes. That's very
As,
motivating.
yeah, as opposed to kind of, I'm losing all of these things.
Yeah. And I think it's totally okay to grieve that, right?
Yeah.
If you need to grieve, because when you see what you lost, you kind of know, okay, well, this is what I want,
Yeah.
right? And so it gives you a little bit of a direction as well.
Yeah. I think direction is really helpful, that sort of directionality of it. But I think it's also what you were saying, I think is really interesting. And maybe that's something we need to think about, which is when we kind of experience particularly unwanted change,
Mm-hmm.
and we feel that we're under attack, whether that's our identity, our values, our financial stability, our emotional stability, we often go into that fight or flight. But what you just said, I think, is really thoughtful, which is maybe instead of just doing fight or flight, we should do fight, flight, or flow.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But actually, that's a limb we don't talk about, we don't think about, but actually that is the limb that could be the most sort of restorative for people.
Yeah, and it's kind of hard too because there's so much emotion and unwanted change. It's like, no, I want to fight, fight, fight. But the more you fight, it's more energy and it's taken away from the goal, from the direction.
Yeah.
So that's when it's like, okay, well, I will fight this as long as I can. If it's with my core values, it's what I want, it's with my goal. But then I'm going to flow, right? As soon as I have that plan, I'm going to start to flow with it, lean into it, and see, well, what's the opportunity here? What's the opportunity with this move? As hard as it is to start over, it's still like, okay, now it's my identity. It's the way I like it. It's exciting and scary. So what's the scary? What's the exciting, right?
Yeah, but I think it's really interesting because a lot of the people that I think we both work with, they're in fight, flight. I often also see freeze. Freeze is a good one. But I very rarely see people in flow. Like, I think sometimes when I'm working with people through mediation, they get to a place where they start to experience that the fear becomes excitement.
Adrenaline.
Yes, almost. This change could mean this for me. This change could mean I can fulfill this dream I never thought I would get to live, or this is a life I never thought I would be able to have, or this is an opportunity I would never have experienced if this unwanted change had not happened, my divorce, my separation. And I'm hoping that the clients I work with get to experience that sense of shift. But I do sometimes see it with people, and they often, they maybe haven't been working for a long time, or they've been working sort of below what their capacity is or what their thoughts are about what they could achieve. But then through the divorce and the separation, because now maybe they have to earn more or they have to actually have a career, they think about what it is they really have wanted to do. And so I think for a lot of people, it's like being unlocked. They can suddenly unlock these other paths that they thought were closed. So I think that is kind of that flow that they start seeing, oh, actually, this is the way I could go, or this is a way. And it's a way I maybe on some really deep level wanted to experience, but I just didn't think that would happen if I had stayed in this relationship and stayed in this dynamic.
Yeah, so maybe it's an openness to new experience, right? An openness to what else will... Some people, it's like, am I a driver or am I a passenger? When do I need to drive and when do I need to sit back?
Yeah. Yes, I definitely prefer being a passenger. I hate driving.
Too many choices.
It's just too many other drivers. That's the problem.
Other drivers.
If the roads were empty, driving would be a delight.
Yes, for sure. For sure.
I just remember, like, maybe 20 years ago, maybe more than 20 years ago, being in England, this beautiful country road, driving to a friend's house, and there was no one else on the road, no one. And it was this beautiful country road. There were big trees and it was summer. And the only music I had was French accordion cafe music. So, because that's what they had at the service station. So I picked up this CD, I put it in, and literally I felt like I was in a French car ad. Because there's this French accordion music swelling in the background. There's sunshine. I was tragically in a Ford, but never mind. It wasn't a French car. But it was so funny. I was just like, this is idyllic. And I guess that's kind of what flow feels like. You're just moving. Like there's an energy that comes with it.
And the way you're talking is like the observations. Okay, well, what's beautiful right now? The trees, the music. What's the emotion that I want to feel, that I want to have portrayed? And so what sense do I need to tune into, right? Because sometimes it's like heartbreak or
Yes.
anger or fear. It's all in our body. So where's the beauty out here? Not if we have to distract from in here. Sometimes. I'm
Yeah.
not saying, push your feelings aside, burying them or anything, but
No. But I think it's also, and it's not minimizing those feelings or saying you need to shut them down, because you need to experience what you're feeling. You need to feel it, and you have a right to feel it. But it's also thinking, how can I help myself?
yeah.
So one of the books I really love is called Forgive for Good by Frederick Luskin, who's a professor at Stanford, who's worked on this forgiveness project. And one of the things he talks about is having a gratitude channel, which is kind of what you're saying, which is you tune in. He said, we will focus on what we focus on. So if you focus on, I've been betrayed, this is a terrible thing, I don't want this to happen, I'm so angry, why is this happening? He said, that's how you will feel. But if you can try and change the channel within your head to a channel around gratitude and beauty. So it's not a beautiful day where I am, but anyway, it's a beautiful day. This flower is gorgeous. This meal is delicious. If you can tune in and use your senses to experience gratitude and beauty, you can help yourself to feel better, almost without realizing. So I think that's a really interesting.
Yeah, those are some good points. I like those.
Yeah. His book is amazing. I will put the name in the description because
thank you.
I really love his book. But yeah, I think that's a really interesting idea, is using our senses to shift our experience so that we get into a flow state, so that we can then kind of roll with it. We can then be open to what are the changes that are coming, and also have agency in them. Actually make choices that don't come from fear, but come from I'm enough to manage this. I can cope with this.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And so the I'm enough, I can cope with this is also, am I giving part of myself away? Am I giving myself up too much? What do I believe in? Where are my core values? And I think core values help, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, well, that goes against my core values. I'm not headed, that's not an opportunity I'm going to take with this change, or, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I think, and that assessment, sort of, this is what my core values are. Is this consonant with them or not? This is the path I'm going to go because this is consonant with my core values. I think that also feels empowering, because that's about sort of self-determination, about kind of, this is an expression of who I am. Because I guess that's the other thing, is that how we deal with change is an expression of who we are and how we feel about things, how we think about things.
Yeah, and there's so many different kinds of change, right?
Yeah.
So many different kinds, from our haircuts to getting a tooth to moving countries to marriage, divorce.
Yeah.
So many changes daily. So many changes happen on a daily occurrence. It's just, I think we just struggle with the unwanted change, the big, sudden, shocking changes.
Yes.
And it's very hard to see the opportunity at the time. It's very hard to see the appreciation.
Yeah.
That's
but
okay.
The challenge, but the challenge then is, if you do the freeze or the denial or the this isn't going to happen, then it's just harder.
Yeah, or the revenge and the fight and that takes up so much energy. So the more you fight, the more you hate, the more anger you have, the more fear you have, the more energy you're outputting, and not,
Well, it's like that, and I don't know who said it, and I think it's maybe a little bit disputed who came up with it, but anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die.
Yeah, it's only poison you. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
that is true.
It will only impact you. I think that's the because, and that's another thing that Dr. Luskin talks about, which is, don't give power to people who have already decided they don't care about you. So if someone has been cruel, has betrayed you, has done something that needs your forgiveness, if you stay in that place, you're giving them power over you. You need to kind of take it back. But I really, Yeah, I really like that idea about the flow. I guess one thing that I also try and do in work, which is when I'm working with people in mediation who are experiencing divorce and separation, is trying to create that roadmap with baby steps. You don't have to get from 0 to 100 in a day. You don't have to do it in a week. You have to do it in a time that's appropriate, that is manageable. But giving people those things, okay, so today we're going to try and do this. Then next month we're going to try and do this schedule. Then 6 months' time it will look like this. I think it helps to make it manageable. It's not like you have to go from we are divorcing to we are amazing co-parents overnight. There's
Yeah,
a map.
of course.
There's
Yeah.
a map how you get there, and acknowledging that people kind of slip up and have hurdles and have bad days is also helpful. I think that it's kind of being a bit patient with yourself.
Yeah, and there will be ups and downs, and there will be negative self-talk, right? And that's when the self-compassion hopefully can come in, the nurturing, kind voice you use to others, but it's hard to give to yourself. So just remembering all of that.
Yeah, I've kind of just, so as Monica knows, I am dealing with a loss at the moment, which I'm struggling to deal with. But one thing that's really helped is years ago, I have a friend who gave me these beautiful teacups. And when we were at university, I'm not sure how many cups of tea we drank together, but it was in the thousands, many tens of thousands. So that's always something that we've done together. And so every night when I've been kind of going through this difficult patch, I've been making myself a cup of tea in the teacups that she gave me because it makes me feel like she's there.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
So it's that kind of, I'm doing it. I mean, I'm having to physically make the tea, but I feel like it connects me with that person and somebody and that caring. And so I think even just doing small things like that, which just seems ridiculous, making a cup of tea, but it actually really helped to kind of reconnect with that sense of support.
Yeah, and that's beautiful, right? It's beautiful that even if she's not with you or she's far away or they've passed, you can still feel it and you can remember them and do like a little ceremony. That's wonderful.
Well, no, actually, she's still around, so I was able to like send her a photo. And I would text her.
I mean, she's in another country. I know she's still around, but she's in another country.
But I would send her like a photo of the tea that I just made. It was really connecting. So I think it's kind of, so nice. I think some of those things are really silly. I mean, that wouldn't mean anything to anybody else. To someone else, that'd be like, sure, I made a cup of tea, whatever. But it's finding something like that, I think, that can help. Just those small things can really help you to feel like you're not alone.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing that.
That's okay. They're really good teacups.
That's such a nice story.
Yeah, I think it's just also just, it is that, I mean, also just culturally, for me, tea is, in Australia, there's a saying, tea cures all ills. Mm-hmm. So there's nothing that a good cup of tea won't fix. So I think it kind of connects with that on a cultural level, but then it connects me to this memory of a happy time when I was at university, and then it connects to this friend. So yeah, I think it's finding something that resonates for you can really help, even if it's small. I mean, it takes 5 minutes to make a cup of tea, but it can help.
Yeah, so it's the little things, right? From little things, from memories, connections, to goals, to something to look forward to self-talk, to openness, to experience. I mean, there's all these ways to manage change.
Yeah, but I actually think that for me is now my takeaway, is what you were saying, which is we need to find a way to introduce flow as another option.
Yeah.
That we need to.
I didn't even know it until you said it. I was like, oh, it's all you. That's your thing now. Is flow.
No, you just said it.
I know I said it, but I don't even know.
I think that's a really.
Sorry, I freeze.
That's why we do this together.
Yes, that's why we do this together, because
so that I can
get ideas together.
Yeah. But yeah, and I think that would be such a great option to have as another path. Oh, I can flow this. I don't have to fight it. I don't have to flee from it. I don't have to freeze. I could flow it.
Yeah, kind of
That's
like
my
lean
takeaway.
in, right? It's like, okay, look for the safety cues. I'm safe. I'm going to lean in and see if I can ride it out like a surf, like on a surfboard, and enjoy it. Try to enjoy it.
Yeah.
The scenery, the music, the food, whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm going to be trying to introduce that into my lexicon of options.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the idea.
Well, thank you also for sharing your story. And I'm sorry
Thank you
for
for sharing your story as well. I think it's been a really interesting time for both of us.
It has been.
I guess why we thought change would be the good topic to start with.
Yes. And so I guess the next topic we will surprise people.
Yes. We could be surprised. I mean, we will also be surprising ourselves.
It's the ambiguity before the change.
I know. I mean, the good news is that there are I think we wrote down 40 topics that we would like to do.
Yeah, we did. We're always so curious with each other. Yes, that's true. So now we just have to choose one.
Yes. Choosing is the hard part. Finding topics is not the hard part. Yes, that is.
Agreed.
Yes, that will be the fun part. Okay, so I guess thank you for joining us. If you have joined us for every episode in the Behaviour Sleuths Investigate Change, but thank you for joining us on the journey as we did our investigation. And I hope some of it's been helpful to you to think about change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you all. And then we'll see you soon.
With whatever the next investigation is.
Maybe we'll do a teaser. We won't blindside you. We'll do a teaser. We'll
definitely do a teaser. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, good night. Bye.